Now that we have our blend shapes in place, we're ready to work on an efficient and user-friendly way to control them. We could start off quickly by going ahead and deleting this layer, no longer needed for our mustache. But what I've done in the past was gone ahead and made a face GUI and just added the controls onto it, and we were able to very nicely animate the face. But let's look at another option that we have of doing so. Rather than having those controls in the GUI, why not have them on the face itself? This is going to also allow us to animate comfortably as well. At least in my opinion, I really enjoy this. So we're just looking at two different techniques here. So what we're going to want to do is first go ahead and make sure that our blend shapes are going to be attached to our character's face, and we'll also want to make the control that will manipulate them. We want to make sure that the controls that we use are innovative as well as efficient. I mean, we can add as many of the blend shapes as we need to be driven by that control as possible. And I usually find a nice setup for this guy would involve perhaps 6 or 7 controls that control about possibly 12 to 14 blend shapes. So that's the type of efficiency I'm talking about, something that the animator would really enjoy. And again, at the end, once this character is finished, you'll be able to see what I've done as far as finishing the facial setup for this guy. But we're going to go ahead and work on one of those controls. So first off, we'll go ahead and tie in our blend shapes. What we could even do is turn off our wireframe. Don't need to see that anymore. But when selecting the blend shapes, we'd like to go ahead and select them in the right order. So we want to go to, we could start by whichever we created first. This just helps when it comes to naming them, keeping them organized. So we select our right, left, followed by our base head. With that now selected, we go to deformers, go to our blend shape options, create deformers, blend shape options. We can call this our face shapes as far as the node 01 and hit create. Now what we get as we go ahead and test this out, which we do want to make sure we do when we select our face, notice, alright, our blend shapes are working just as we need them to. Okay, now remember, when making these blend shapes, once we have our bound character, we do need to switch our inputs. So we'll go to, we'll right click on the face, go to inputs, and go to all inputs. And we just need to make sure that the blend shape node lies or rests on top of the skin cluster so we could switch the order. So here's our correct order here. Now that that has been done, we're ready to work on setting up the blend shapes for our mustache. So again, we want to select them in the right order, followed by the mustache, the base mustache, and go back to create blend shapes. And here we'll go ahead and call this our mustache shapes. Okay. Oh. Alright, so once that has been named, mustache shapes 01, we can now go ahead and hit create and go ahead and test this out as well. Alright, so that's working just fine for us. Excellent. And we won't need to adjust any of our inputs here since we haven't bound the mustache, so that'll be fine. That's moving as it needs to move. Also do want to mention that please get into the habit of naming your blend shapes so when it comes time to finding them for setting them up with controls, you can easily do that by looking at the label that you've given it. But now that we have our blend shapes tied, let's go ahead and work on a control for it. So since this is pretty much controlling our mustache area, what I like to do is make a control that looks similar to a mustache and also rests right on top of where our mustache is. Okay, far enough where we're easy to select it, but not too far where it's far from the face. So let's going to work on that. What I like to do is go to create, go to NURBS primitives and make a circle for it. Then go into the front view, just make a quick NURBS circle. And then from there we can go back to our perspective, select our mustache, go to its LRA so we can snap to that circle there to its center. Okay, let's see how long this is going to take. So we could select our circle and we'll zoom in so we can comfortably snap to our local rotation axis without getting any of our other verts snapped to. So we'll hold V, middle mouse button, click and drag, and there we are. Center snapped. And we can freeze its transformations as well as delete its history from there. Going back into a shaded mode, we can select our mustache and turn off the LRA. Now from here, I like to give it a design rather than keeping it as a sphere. So, or excuse me, a circle. So we can go ahead and move out the control. Okay, scale it down some. And it might even help to go into the front view so we can clearly see what we're doing. So our objective here is to make it look like a mustache. So we can select our outer verts and bring them out. And then go to our move tool, bring them down. So are already almost there. From there we select our verts, bring them out. Okay, and possibly even bring these up. Great, and then I think we could even take these guys in some more to the side. Let's go ahead and scale them in to give them a more interesting look. We could even possibly take the vert that is right in the center and bring that up so it follows the shape of the mustache. And if you wanted to, you could select the ones at the top and bring those down as well. Okay, so once we have a nice shape in the front view, we can go ahead and select the verts at the side and just shape it around our mustache, just bringing these back. Alright. And then maybe even taking these right to the side and bringing them in a little bit more so it's not too far away again. Okay, so once we like this position, we can freeze our transformations to clean up the curve. We can give it a name. We'll call it CC for control curve underscore mustache 01. Great. And we also want to determine what attributes we will not need. Now, since we've only set up two blend shapes, what we can do here is go ahead and get rid of everything excluding our translate X. Since we have also done some side-to-side smirks for our blend shapes here, we can safely say that the translate X is probably going to be the best option for us for when wanting to control those shapes. It's going to be efficient in that we'll have all of these blend shapes tied to this one control here. So knowing that, we can get rid of everything else excluding the visibility too, because what we're going to do is go ahead and afterwards tie this right to our head control, set up another attribute so we can hide or show our face controls depending on whether we're animating on them. Again, to have the cleanest setup as possible. So now that this is done, what I like to do from here is basically set up limits on our translate X so that it won't move as much unless you want it to really skew the face. Since we already have our blend shape set to as far as we'd like them to move, I would prefer to go ahead and set up limitations for that control. So with it selected, we hit Control A to get to our attribute editor. We can go to our first tab. We can go under our translate transforms under the limit information and turn on its min and max. But before we even do that, let's go ahead and establish how much we'd like to move our character's face. So can go back quickly to our channel box, go to a front view possibly, and let's see. Alright, so we can move it to about the point of the edge of the mustache, and that's rounded off, if we wanted to about a value of 0.2. We wouldn't need to go anything further than that. 3 would even be safe, but let's go ahead and just use 0.2. Alright, so from there, going back to our perspective, we'll go to our attribute editor and put in those values. So the min is going to be negative 0.2 and the max positive 0.2. Great, we can test that out. Everything's moving fine. Excellent. So before we even leave from our attribute editor, let's go ahead and give it a color, something that really stands out, a yellow. Okay, and we don't need to color all of our controls yellow, just colors that stand out again. So that one really does stand out. It'll be easy to select. With it now selected, we are ready to make sure that it's going to follow along with our head as it should. Okay, that's the control we'd like them to follow along with, since it's our facial controls. So we simply select our mustache, shift select our character's head, control, and hit P. We can test it out, move it around. Okay, I'll go to a different rotation, and notice it's moving just the way we need it to. Great. What I'll do is go ahead and stop the lesson here, and in the next lesson we'll finish the setup of our facial controls by making sure this control here will drive those blend shapes we've made.